Welcome back to World Crisis Radio for our second hour. And as usual, we'd like to begin here in our second hour by getting a report from the front lines of the battle to investigate Obama's qualifications or lack thereof to be President of the United States, or is he just a usurping tenant of the White House, as I tend to believe. And for that, no better place to go than the founder and leader of the movement to get the truth about Obama's birth and citizenship and other topics that every citizen with a brain would have a right to know. And that's Phil Berg in Philadelphia. Welcome, Phil.
Welcome. My pleasure to be on again. Nothing directly new to report. We have not had a decision yet by the court in our Third Circuit Court of Appeals. That's where they canceled the oral argument right before and said they would decide the case on the briefs. We haven't heard on that. Significant is the decision in California. I think we spoke briefly about it, where the judge dismissed the case. However, the judge had some very pointed responses, and we're going to use this in other cases. Judge Carter got the U.S. Attorney and Attorney General's Office, so the attorney for the Attorney General's Office and attorney representing the Justice Department, to admit that if the case had been filed before the election, then the person would have standing. Well, I filed before the election, so I'm hoping I have standing, because in that particular case, which he dismissed with no standing, Orly Tates filed it on behalf of her clients on January 20th in the afternoon after Obama was sworn in. So we're hoping to use that in some of my other cases and or the Supreme Court when it gets there. We feel confident that we should have standing, especially now with the admissions by the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Justice Department attorneys. I have two other cases pending in the Court of Appeals of Washington, D.C. Significant is the crowd of people that came out the other day against the health care package. It's about 20,000 people in Washington, D.C. I'm trying to make inroads to the Tea Party people. It's a shame some of the leaders of the Tea Party don't want anything to do with the birth certificate issue, and I'm raising a question to them. You're complaining about taxes. You're complaining about programs that Obama's pushing. Think about it for a minute. If Obama doesn't belong there, as I state he doesn't, if he's a usurper, and you knock him out on that level, all these other issues fall by the wayside, because I believe everything he's doing is void or voidable. But what happens is you get some of these leaders of the different groups, and they only think of themselves. And I don't do that. Like I've told you many times, I don't care who crosses the finish line. Let's all work together. So my goal right now, though, is to raise the public awareness. We're getting more and more people involved. And I think as the Obama drops in the polls, people are going to look towards us in situations. And I feel confident that we're going to get it. But I think we can even beat the court system if we can get enough of the American public involved in this. And that's why it's so terrific that you, Webster, allow us on, once a week to discuss this topic, because I'm sure you have new listeners that come on every week. So the general public there, if you can visit my website, which is obamacrimes.com, that's OBAMACRIMES.com, obamacrimes.com, that's the best place to go for the most up-to-date information. Please go, when the show's over, go to my website and spread it to everyone in your address book. It doesn't cost you any money. Please do that and ask them to spread it to everyone in their address book, because we have to get people involved. If we get more and more people involved, then we can accomplish what's essential here. And I really think we could force Obama out of office. If the general public, and I mean that, I think we only have 20 million, if 75 to 100 million people in this country knew that he was withholding all documentation about himself, including his birth certificate, that people would be outraged. The national media won't cover this. It's absurd, because I'm trying to enforce the U.S. Constitution, and there's nothing more important than that document, which Obama is walking all over, and even his administration is trying to take steps to take away people's rights on the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, and other things. He's a very dangerous person in office, but he's a usurper. He does not belong there, ladies and gentlemen. So please, please make people aware of this. Think about it, all you listeners out there. You must, for yourselves, your parents, your children, must produce a birth certificate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in your lifetime. We don't even know if Obama was really born August 4th, 1961, because we only saw a phony document. But you, your listeners out there, need a document. You need it to register for Little League. You need it for a passport. You need it for baptism. You need it for marriage. You need it for selective service. Different requirements in different states. You need it for applications for college or financial aid. So why shouldn't he produce? And I'm sure I stated it before on your show, but again, the best thing, about a month and a half ago, I received an email from a woman in Texas who thanked me for everything I was doing and related a story. She said that her nephew, she registered her nephew for school. At the end of the registration period, the nephew said to the principal, "Can I ask you a question?" The principal said, "Sure." He said, "How come I have to show my birth certificate to register for school when Obama doesn't have to show it to be president?" And this is from a 13-year-old. So wake up, America. This is how they're undermining our nation.
Phil, my estimate on that group of Tea Party people is more like 5,000 to 10,000. And this was a Republican rally. Unfortunately, these people are not sophisticated. I think a lot of them mean well, but the people who show up as leaders of this are essentially Republican operatives with camouflage. They're part of this. It's between the lobbying firms and the public relation firms. They have these front organizations that show up with titles like, Citizens for Blank or Patriots for Blank Blank. And that's who seems to run the show. Anyway, the only speakers they had were Republican congressmen. They had no Puma Democrats. They had no Ron Paul people. Even that wing of Republicanism is not acceptable. They had no libertarians. They had nothing but straight, Republicans and reactionaries. So I think that's bad. Here's what I wanted to ask you this week, though. Under the Freedom of Information Act, has the Obama birth certificate been thoroughly requested under FOIA?
I believe so. Well, I'm not sure, but I believe so. But we asked for it even under a subpoena from the federal court system, and they wrote back to us from the hospitals in Hawaii, which I'm sure don't have it. They wrote back they needed Obama's signature to request it. I mean, it's just been so absurd here. We need a court. We need one of these courts to have a judge or justice to have brass you-know-whats to say, let's get to the bottom of this issue, and Obama produce your documentation. And I'm going to keep fighting for that, because that's what this country's all about. Remember, Obama stated that this administration would be the most open, transparent administration. Well, that's hogwash. How could it be open, transparent if we don't even know anything about him?
Well, I would recommend taking a look at FOIA, because I think you put in a first request and they deny it, then you appeal that request and they deny that, but then you have the chance to sue them. And a civil suit under the FOIA in regards to the state of Hawaii, it seems to me that might be promising. It's also possible that the Hawaii state FOIA statute, or Freedom of Information, or whatever they call it, might be more inclusive than the federal one, right? It varies from state to state. Some of them are worse than the federal standards, but some of them are better, and Hawaii might actually be better. And I think under FOIA, you automatically have standing.
Well, I think Leo Donofrio, one of the attorneys, I think he's trying that right now. I'll look into that for you. Listen, we'll look into everything. I mean, we even someone gave us a FOIA request for Obama's birth certificate and came back to it that he never had, for his passport, and it came out he never had a passport, which reinforces my position. I think that either the passport's under Barry Soetoro, or that he has always used his passport from Indonesia, and that makes sense to me, which means he's an illegal alien. I mean, I really believe that this guy is a total phony, total fraud, total hoax, and that's why I'm going to keep my fight going. But ObamaCrimes.com is the place to be. I hope to give you, some definitive answers soon, but I feel good that the Justice Department basically said we have standing.
Okay, Phil. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week. Keep fighting, and it's ObamaCrimes.com, and make your contribution when you go there.
Thank you very much.